But joint is sufficient condition. It is necessary but not sufficient. See, water is necessary for ice, but water is not a sufficient condition for ice. You just run through that. That's exactly correct, precise, very good, very sharp. Now stop it, because you're embarrassing the speaker. But then pragmatism. 3, the whole history of epistemology from the Greeks forward will fit in. Now what is pragmatism? What is pragmatism? If it works, it's right. See, correspondence says that language corresponds to true statements about reality. That drives the postmodern nail, conservative nail, everybody nail, see, up the wall. But that's the only way to get truth. In what form? In propositional form. It's that important. And coherence is, see, Hegelian phenomenology is internally consistent. But it can't do anything. It can't produce. To be scientific, it must have explanatory power and predictive capability for new knowledge. And idealism cannot predict new information about reality. But it can internally consistently describe itself.
Because it assumes the external real world. It cannot do that.
Now, idealism has no ground to assume, except that rock falls on and said, well, that must have been an illusion, but it's a very heavy illusion. No, they can't make the claim, see? But I imagine that's why a Buddhist or Hindu think that man's greatest problem is ignorance, and he's has an illusion of dying and suffering. Maya. See, that is the most powerful illusion you could ever conceive of. If that's illusionary. That's why they say it's not real. Not real, it's an illusion. Okay. Jump off the Empire State Building, see how illusionary that is. Well, it doesn't make any sense to the real world, see that. So pragmatism says if it works, and that's where you go to the consumer context of the postmodern megachurch. See, they got programs that work. They don't want just academic discussions of anything. They want to know what works. Anything, and if it works, it's true. Name me some things that work that might not be true. It's true that they work, yeah.
Self-help.
All right, self-help merely fails. It just intensifies the frustration, see. You try it and you go to so many seminars and read so many of MacArthur's tapes and you find out this is an imbecile and he's brain dead. Why would I listen to that? And I just make up my own tape and put Braille on it, and then you can decipher that, see. No, you can't do that. But that, another thing. Many things work.
Counterfeiting.
Now here, I no longer am permitted by my darling wife, Jewel, to carry, even as example, counterfeit money. I have some counterfeit money. Just as an example, but the high school camps don't ask me to speak anymore. The freshman IDS don't want any counter, but I have a counterfeit $20 bill, $50 bill, $100 bill. Now, if there's no what, there's no counterfeit.
No real.
If there's no real, there's no counterfeit. Now, that's the point. If there's no real, there's no counterfeit. Well, I can make $100 million worth of things.
You can get away with it, it's okay.
Yeah, but see, they're going to get it because they think there's such a thing as truth, right and wrong. If not, I could just make more money. Pass a law, buy a Lexus, and you know, do all kinds. But that a counterfeit is a model, a paradigm for, and what do you do when you're really high-level counterfeit? What have they done in recent 10s and 20s and $100? What have they done? They color-coded to make it more and more difficult to what? You know, to counterfeit it. Why? Because millions of dollars a year are passed into the economy of counterfeit money. Well, if it wasn't productive and successful, they wouldn't do it. Because it's cheaper to make some money that's not real. What it means is not real. It looks real to me. It's a $10 bill. But there's nothing back of that. Now, we no longer have gold deposits back of the money, not as for Keynes. We went into credit cards and then we pay 19 to 21% being stolen from the credit card people. The people belong in prison that deal very long with credit cards because it just is stealing money, just justified, legalized stealing. But anyway, it comes from Keynes, British. And that's how you get economic progress. We'll talk, well, not tomorrow, because today is it, isn't it? So Keynes is the high priest of the credit card. And that's how you can expand growth industry by putting it on credit. Until somebody told him that somebody had to pay for that. Oh, I didn't know that.
Just velocitizing the money.
Oh, man alive. I have 4 platinum cards. I don't know who they think I am. I have 4 platinum cards that I do not carry around or use. Unless I need a brain surgery or something, I'd put one on that. And then I'd probably die and wouldn't have to pay the bill. But I do not use any more than I can pay. Why? Because if you pay, it's like a company. I imagine big companies have credit cards, but they pay immediately. They don't keep charging it because you keep it ripped off. But if you paid the bill, that's a simpler way of keeping track of the money. Now that I can understand. But beyond that, I do not understand. If you can't pay it, do not buy it. Notice how conservative and redneck it sounds. Southern Illinois alcoholic.
You know what the credit card companies call people who pay and never run up credit? They call them freeloaders.
Well, after a while, you know this is not false because you're violating our economic dynamics.
But how about that for a 180 turnaround? The people that pay their bills are considered freeloaders.
Because they don't want them paid for.
All right. We're in business to
I'm resting. I'm hearing, but I'm...
You're resting.
See, there's an economic implication of Christian worldview. It's a moral problem.
So in China, I've been in China, and China they warned us that the counterfeiting was a problem. So bad they released money 3 times that year because new money because of counterfeiting was such a problem. And the banks will not accept counterfeit money, but they might give it out.
I don't doubt that at all. But they put you in jail for doing it. But
if you give it to them, sure.
But they're not going in jail.
Right.
But you see, again, the point is, if there's no real, there's no counterfeit. I mean, that's all. It sounds like a high school camp. I don't mean to insult your intelligence, but see, that's a paradigm. If there's no real, there's no counterfeit. Now, not only, we don't want to mean mouth China or anything. Well, what is China? What is the industry doing in music? What are they doing? Yes, ma'am. What? Records. Music. CDs. They're not authorized to do that, but if you got the equipment, you can do it without asking anybody about it. But again, if there's no real one, there's no what? But you have to pay for the real ones. You don't have to pay for the counterfeit ones. Huh? So again, there's no real, there's no counterfeit, money or anything else. So that's a issue about a Christian world and truth statement. So coherence and internal consistency and reference and pragmatism. See, they don't deal with the past. They hate theory. See, theoria, just as a Greek word, it means to see something. So theory isn't necessarily true or false. It's just, theoretically, how do you relate data? That's what a theory is. And so when Dewey announces pragmatism, he's fighting with the whole history of epistemology. That's why he's a genius. He's not just an A student at Columbia University causing trouble in education. But the pragmatism says if it works, it's true. Now, it's not true. We can't make two statements out of coherence or what? Coherent theory, or what's the other? Correspondence or coherence. So that's not a true statement because it requires theoretical consideration. Yes, I believe it is. But also does picking out data that you consider pragmatically require decision making. See, what is the criteria picking out what data you're going to consider? Just, oh, I got some data there, put it together. No, a gathering of data in the laboratory or any place else requires an assumption about what goes in and what goes out. An agenda, okay? An agenda. Now, the agenda is prior to the what?
Prior to the action.
Prior to the action, thank you very much. And you can't act without having a prior dynamic of acting. Well, that's the fallacy of pragmatism. Now, they say, well, that's not very practical. You talk academic and it's too cerebral for me. Do something practical. You mean something that'll work? Well, that's how come the influence of the counterculture and the consumption culture on the church.